Three, two. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Voice of Hong Kong. I'm here today with my friend Kyle Yue. He's living in Paris, France, and he's formerly living in Hong Kong. He's from Hong Kong, and the Voice of Hong Kong is here to give a voice to Hong Kong people, to a Western audience that speaks English, so that they might better understand the situation and circumstances that Hong Kong people are facing, whether they live in Hong Kong or abroad. Um, and I'm Temper Lee, and I'm 36 years old, living here in Hong Kong, enjoying my life. And like I said, Kyle is in France. So, would you like to introduce yourself? Anything you want to say about yourself?
Hi everyone. Yeah, but actually I don't know who is going to viewing this video. Yeah, I'm Kyle. Yeah, currently I'm living in Paris, France. Yeah, and then I moved here like 8 months ago. Beforehand I live in Hong Kong. Yeah, that's the background for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, after 8 months living in Paris, how do you like the weather?
Oh, the weather is nice. Yeah, just like it's spring weather. Yeah, but the most annoying thing for me right now is like because we are under quarantine and then we can't go out to enjoy the great weather here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the perfect time of year in Europe, right? The
Oh
weather's
yeah,
just like super nice for picnics and
yeah,
park out things.
yeah.
So, speaking of quarantine, how are you handling the quarantine? How long have you been quarantining?
Oh, for quarantine, I have been already like today is 5th of April. Yeah, the France starting the quarantine since the 15th of March. So until now, I have already undergo 19 days of quarantine. Yeah.
Oh,
Um, it's not very easy for me. I think because like before the quarantine, I can go to school. I can meet my friends in Paris, but now I just stay at home. Yeah, almost just stay at home and then do nothing. Yeah, but like maybe there's some restriction. Uh, just like you can go out to meet your friends or reunion or anything, but you can still go out for supermarkets or like within 1 kilometer. Then within that distance, you can do some exercise. Yeah. So I have done some running or go cycling sometimes. Yeah. Just I have to kill my time. Yeah.
do you wear a mask when you go out?
Mm, no.
Do any people in Paris wear masks when they go out?
Uh, it's not easy to say. Like I think like before the quarantine and right taking the underground or taking the bus there is clearly no people wear the mask. I think they don't have the awareness that the importance of wearing a mask and like I think it can stop spreading the virus. But I think the supply here is not enough. So the French government promotes promotes that there is no use of wearing a mask. Like but until now, like yesterday, I go for cycling and then I can see people wearing a mask. But in France, you have to have some like medical certificate to get a mask. It's
Oh wow!
yeah.
Not everyone can get them. In
Yeah,
America, they're now recommending that people make homemade masks out of a scarf or something like that. Is that something that you've seen, or
you mean using the scarf to cover their
yeah,
face
some people are just like using fabric to like cover their face or make handmade masks, homemade masks.
in American?
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing on the news. Is that even the president Trump came out and suggested that people in America should be making masks at home by themselves.
Kind of late.
It seems a bit silly, but I guess it's better than nothing for some people. And it also gets people into the habit, I guess, of using a mask. When masks, like you said, do become more ubiquitous or more available, maybe people will be used to wearing them. How about, for instance, in America, a lot of my Asian friends are reporting that they are victims of racism, or people are coming after them because they have the China virus or something like that. When you go to the grocery store, are people, treating you differently than they were, say, a few months ago? Or when you go exercising on the street, do people avoid you or, say things to you? Or...
I think it's just the same. Yes, I think the personality of Parisian, just like, social distance. I think everyone is keeping certain amounts of distance between people, but I think like the Chinese virus stuff it didn't bother me at all. Yeah.
It hasn't affected you.
I think it didn't. Yeah.
I've had a lot of arguments with friends in America that were, or are rather, very anti-Trump. And because Trump called it the China virus, they kind of use that as a sort of springboard for their racist platform, saying that Trump is a racist and calling it the Chinese virus. Personally, I don't think it's racist to call it the China virus, although I understand why some people would feel that way. In my opinion, I think that Trump made a mistake. He should have called it the CCP virus, if you ask me. But, in terms of all this thing, you say that it doesn't really affect you. Has it been an issue in the media in France, the China virus versus COVID-19 versus Wuhan virus versus other names that might be coming up for it?
I think I hear the most is like coronavirus. Yeah.
Coronavirus.
Yeah. I think you can call it Chinese virus. Even me, I will call it Chinese virus because it's like the origin is from China. Come on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just I think like there's not really related to discrimination or races. It's just like there are so many viruses they call by their original place, Even Hong Kong, the Hong Kong feet, what's that? Yeah, so I think it's
hand and foot. Hong Kong
yeah.
hand and foot virus. There was a
Yeah.
thing going around in Hong Kong where people were getting ill from the hand and feet. Yeah.
So
That's interesting. I agree with you. I mean, although I understand there's a scientific way of calling these things, and that's why we call it COVID-19. People say that it was called Spanish flu, and we shouldn't be afraid to call it the Wuhan virus because we used to call it the Spanish flu, things like that. But, the Spanish flu was 100 years ago. We can't use a 100-year-old standard for a modern day event, you know what I mean? And also calling it the China virus, it did kind of make it sound like Chinese virus, which meant the Chinese people and not necessarily the Chinese government. So I am sympathetic to the people that are saying, oh, you shouldn't call it the China virus. You shouldn't call it the China virus. I agree. It should be the CCP virus. It should,
yeah.
Even Wuhan, to call it the Wuhan virus, which is what we originally called it. I understand why Asians would want to call it the Wuhan virus because Wuhan is a Chinese word. And if you speak any of the Chinese languages, Wuhan virus, just kind of easy to say. Versus COVID, Sop Gao. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot more difficult to say. So, anyway, moving on. I think that's kind of an interesting topic. But moving on, you speak of PPEs not really being readily available to the public because you need a license for that type of thing. Is that a new thing or is that a pre-existing statute in France? Like even 2 years ago, you couldn't have bought masks if you wanted to, or is that?
I think it's a new thing for the France because I never heard that before. Yeah.
That's interesting that they're making it actually difficult to get masks. I wonder the hospitals must be so down on PPEs right now.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what you were studying in school? Do you want to talk about school? How are you staying scholastically involved, even though the schools are shut down, presumably? Any other topics along that line that you want to discuss?
You mean in school?
Yeah.
Like I'm learning French at the moment. Yeah, but like the school is shut down, then I can't go to school, and then just like because my school is run by charity, so like it didn't have any online resources for me to study. So like at home I can just self-taught by like books or internet. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So you're not really like, because it's learning a language. I mean, there's lots of like self-taught resources for learning a language. You could get, any number of things. But was there anything else that you were doing in your life that you now are negatively impacted by COVID?
Uh, sometimes I did Skype with my friends from Hong Kong. Yeah, but it's still a bit irritating because like you can't go outside and then everything is closed down. Yeah, like it's just like affect your lifestyle. For example, like I would like to go to a cafe or coffee shop to have a coffee in general, but now everything is shut down. You can't go.
They don't even have takeaway?
Mm,
Because a lot of the places in America are takeaway. And in Hong Kong, we're using 50%. Like half of the tables have to be closed in the restaurant. So you can only sit in certain areas. They're not doing that at all. They just completely closed all the cafes.
yeah, I
Wow.
think so. Maybe you can. I think you can order online, maybe Uber Eats. I don't know. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I think you can
So you're
order.
mostly cooking at home and buying groceries.
Oh yeah, that's it.
And when you go to the grocery store, is there social distancing in place? Do they only allow so many people in at one time? Or is it just like the shelves are empty, or are you still able to get produce and things like that?
Yeah, the social distance things still exist because for example, like in rush hour, like around 6 p.m., like there's a queue outside the grocery store because like you have to keep like I forget 5 meter. So there's a queue outside the supermarkets here. Yeah, and then
So they're only allowing so many people in the supermarket at one time.
yeah, they did. Yeah,
Limited. That's
yeah.
interesting. And how about like other shops? Like for instance, in Hong Kong, we have Japan Home, or in America, we have like electronic stores or other shops like that. Is it only grocery stores that are open right now, or are there other things that are open? Like, can you go to the cell phone shop and replace your cell phone if it's broken? Or
I think I think I think everything is closed down because like my computer is I have some accident during the quarantine that I dropped my
uh-huh.
computer on the floor.
Oh
Because,
no.
yeah, and then like right now, like it's my computer is MacBook, then I should go to Genius Bar from Apple, but they are closed down, and then because like I can't go far away from my apartment, so I can't go to like electronic repair store to
Right.
repair my computer. Yeah,
It's
but
too
I think
far.
maybe yeah, but I think maybe some of them are still open, but I still have to find. But it's not very close to my apartment, so I can't go. Yeah.
Right. I understand. That's interesting. That's interesting how life changes suddenly. How about produce? When you go to the grocery store, are you able to get all the things that you normally want to eat? Oranges, apples, pears, bananas,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
fruits and vegetables and things? They're all still there?
yeah. The supply is still sufficient. Yeah, but because like I think there are some panic buying in UK. I know that. Yeah, but it's not happening in Paris. I don't know because like everything is still there. You can find bread, vegetables, or anything in the grocery store. The one thing affecting me is that I can't go to the Chinese markets here. Yeah, because like
Oh, they're closed.
yeah, I don't know are they open or closed. I think maybe they are still open, but because like it's not close to my apartment, so
Right,
I'm not able to get there. Yeah,
right.
because if I go too far, maybe I will get a fine or anything, and then the fine is quite a lot here. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting. So I remember before this whole thing happened, the protests that were happening in Paris, they were actually starting to die down, if I remember right. There were less and less of them, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the case now? Are there any protests in Paris? Is there any sort of
For the,
political?
oh yeah, it did. It there is a strike in Paris. Like it lasts for like almost 2 months, and then it pissed me off so much. Because like I think the strike is start in last December, and then it just continued like until the end of January, and then I think the strike is like it's
Who was
like
striking?
uh basically it's the transportation.
Uh-huh.
So during that period, then I can't go to school again.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Uh, because no public transport. And school
There
is too
are
far on bicycle. Or
yeah,
raining or
like they are in they are cutting their service. Like for example, like there is 14 lines in
uh-huh.
the metro system here, but only 2 lines are still
Oh
open,
wow. Wow.
and then and the bus is also cutting their service. But like this, there is no metro, and then people are just um taking taking the bus, so there's not enough space for the
Right. Now the buses
for,
are
yeah,
full.
yeah, always full, and then so I can't go to
Oh
school
my
in that
goodness.
period. But I think it's like I think it didn't succeed. I think the strike because like the government they didn't, yeah, they're quite uh they don't because like I don't know how to say that. It's like they're like yeah bargaining, and then somehow the
They
government
didn't resolve. The government didn't back down.
yeah they turn back down, yeah.
Uh,
So so there's still like the labor and the government then bargaining is about the retirement pension, I think. Yeah,
sounds terrible.
yeah.
Huh. Well, um, is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything you want to talk about? You want to ask me about Hong Kong? You haven't been
Yeah,
here in a while.
yeah.
I haven't been
So
outside in 3 months, so I can't really tell you anything very specific about Hong Kong, but I've basically been on lockdown since January 20th.
no, you told me that you have a trip to Japan
Yeah,
for
I
10
did take
days.
one 10-day trip, but aside from that, I've literally been just in my house. So
Oh,
from January 20th until now, except for those 10 days, I've just been home doing nothing. My daily routine is quite boring. Mostly
but why?
news and research.
But why? It's like there's no restriction in Hong Kong. Like you still can go out and everything's still open, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think that's interesting that you mentioned that because there's been a huge difference between the way that sort of the rest of the world has dealt with this situation and the way that Hong Kong has dealt with it. Socially speaking, we have instituted a lot of social distancing. The mask came out in early January. People are really, I mean, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, my friends were still going to the movie theater every once in a while, and they'd be the only person in the movie theater, the only person in the bar, the only person, in a public area. So aside from grocery stores and office buildings, and buses maybe, there really wasn't a lot of, say, social interaction, because it hit in Hong Kong right as the Chinese New Year hit. So as we exited from Chinese New Year, we just like stayed on indefinite Chinese New Year. If you walk around in Hong Kong right after Chinese New Year, it was like an extra 2 or 3 weeks of Chinese New Year in Hong Kong. And then a few more places started opening, restaurants came back, things started happening. But it's still, I would say, around me, like in my 1 kilometer zone, as you put it, it's still about 50-50 closed and open. And it looks like a lot of businesses have shuttered completely, where they've completely closed. There's for rent signs on the building and things like that. So it's really made a huge effect on Hong Kong commerce, on Hong Kong economy, on Hong Kong life. I still have some friends that are going out all the time. Every weekend they go out, they do their thing, and they love it because they go to the restaurant and no one's there.
Yeah.
So it's the government didn't really need to even shut down the bars or the theaters, except that now the bars and theaters can claim insurance or some sort of financial protection because they can't actually be open right now. So, and if the government's closing them, there should be some legal recourse, I'm assuming, by those businesses that have been affected by the close down. So I hope that there is some protections for them. I hope that they don't just go out of business and shrivel up and die. But it's been quite interesting that in that way that we've been closed down socially before the government told us to close down.
So it's bothering you?
Yeah, it's certainly been an adjustment. I have a garden in front of my house that I can work in. I have a garden in my house that I can work in. I have a huge 200-liter aquarium that I play with. So, I stay busy. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of articles. There's a lot of reading that I can do. I was already caught up on my Netflix before all this happened, so I didn't have to catch up on Netflix per se. But, there was a lot of other things that I've, been able to do and keep myself busy with. But
yeah.
Starting to get to that point where it's looking like I might need to, find a farm somewhere to go hide out in and take care of some cows and sheep and plant some corn and oats and things. So, I don't know. It's looking a lot to me like this is not going to let up anytime soon, and I don't want to get caught in my apartment any longer than I have to be.
Yeah.
Anyway. I don't know if there's anything else I have to ask you.
I don't know.
Well, maybe that's it then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was nice talking to you. I appreciate your time and allowing me to interview you for this episode of Voice of Hong Kong. I hope you enjoyed that, and maybe we'll do it again in the future if you have something that comes up that you really want to discuss with your fellow honkies.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Have a good night.
Yeah. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.